you know so well, no other than the man Victor Osimhen. Of course, he is Galatasaray's all-time fourth highest scoring foreign player. He put up that impressive performance this week, and it was such an impressive record, for the man. And that's what, of course, we're going to dive into the life of Victor Osimhen. The man, of course, has been very fantastic with the Super Eagles of Nigeria, as well as Galatasaray down there in Turkey. It's been, of course, an impressive start, for him this year, and we'll take a look at all that he has achieved in his career so far. Promises to be another exciting edition of the show this morning. We'll take a break now. When we return, we'll unravel all that you need to know revolving or about the man Victor Osimhen. Stay with us. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. It's the Sports Personality Show on Atlantic Television Network. And of course, we told you we'll be talking about the man, Victor Osimhen. The man, of course, has been very, very fantastic for his club side, talking about Galatasaray, and for the Super Eagles of Nigeria as well. And we're going to take a look at, what he has achieved so far, especially in his club side, talking about Galatasaray in Turkey. Joining me this morning to take a look at the life of Victor Osimhen and his football career is Kelechi Clifford. Good morning to you, Kelechi, and welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning to you, Kingsley, and thanks for having me on the show today.
All right, let's dive straight into the life of Victor Osimhen. Victor James Osimhen was born on 29th of December 1998 in Lagos, Nigeria. He grew up in Olusosun, a crowded neighborhood known for its large dump sites and difficult living conditions. Life was tough. His mother passed away when he was very young, and his father later lost his job, forcing the family into poverty. To support his household, young Victor sold sachet water and sometimes newspapers on the streets of Lagos. Osimhen hails from a modest background where his eldest brother, Andrew, sold newspapers by the roadside to support the family. His sister, Blessing, was a petty trader who used her limited earnings to buy him jerseys and boots, nurturing his football dreams. Even in hardship, football was his refuge. He played barefoot on rough field using improvised balls, and his love for the game often overshadowed his daily struggle. Kelechi, let's take a look at the life of Victor Osimhen, his early life, to say at this point in time. What do you make of the fact that, despite all of the struggles, despite how difficult, of course, it was for him, his love for football didn't fade away? Because sometimes, in life, when you have passion for something and you really want to pursue that thing maybe to the end, but sometimes, struggles, life can happen to you and you totally forget about, your ambition or your passion or your purpose in life. But what do you make of the case of Osimhen, despite all of the struggle, losing his parents, in that situation, not really having hope of becoming something very huge? His love for football, was still there. What do you make of how, of course, he was able to manage everything at that moment?
I would say inspirational. Everybody tends to focus on the glory. We're all seeing what he's all about now, the goals and the trophies and the record he's been breaking, but nobody wants to look at the story behind this success. And just mentioned coming from a poor family, coming from nothing, and that's what dreams are made of. You have to rise from the root, and that's the ability to make yourself good regardless of the circumstances. And that's what I really love about this Victor Osimhen story: losing your mom, and of course having siblings who are actually struggling on their own as well. So it's really, really encouraging as a footballer to still pursue your passion in the midst of nothing. Like you just said, he was able to manage to get some boots from his sister and jerseys. I mean, some people would have given up at this point in time, but Victor Osimhen didn't give up, and that's what actually made him where he is today, and that's one thing that we should actually take from this Victor Osimhen story.
Do you also think that, looking at the poor background he came from and the struggles, do you think that could have been maybe a thing of motivation or inspiration for him to pursue his football career, to where he is today?
Sometimes in life you have to give yourself a chance, and that was the only thing that actually gave him motivation. That was the only thing that could actually keep him alive, because at that point in time, maybe he would have given up. I mean, if you ask me, football is not something that the luck shines on everybody. You can actually be better than Ronaldo or Lionel Messi, but if you don't get the opportunity, no one's going to know about you, no one's going to hear about you. And so he found something that kept him alive, and that was football, and he didn't give up. He started pretty young, still playing, sometimes without boots on, and that was actually the turning point of Victor Osimhen's life and family's life as well. So he didn't give it up. He found a passion, and that was football. And he's not just playing football, he's one of the best at it. One of the best strikers we can talk about, not just in Nigeria, but in the world as well. Very leader as well. And so that was actually the turning point for Victor Osimhen. Having something that gives you passion, that gives you reason to wake up regardless of the struggles that your family is facing or your struggles personally. I'm pretty sure that some days he actually went without eating, but he did not go at least a week without playing football. So it's really, really motivation and inspiration at this point in time.
But what do you think at this point, we can learn, from this early life of Victor Osimhen, especially those who also have ambition of maybe have that ambition of going into football and putting up a very impressive performance, but they do not have the means, they do not have the money, the family is not really capable in terms of finance, to give them the necessary support. What lesson do you think they can learn, from this story of Osimhen?
I mean, it's a very difficult situation to be in, if you ask me, for you to be able to pick yourself up from nothing and to, just blossom without anybody giving you a chance. And you need to have someone who believes in you. You need to have someone who will look at you and pay attention to all the skills and talent you have as a footballer. And so my advice is for you to keep showing up. Consistency is key. I believe that luck will definitely shine on you if you're actually consistent in whatever you're doing. If you look at some of the greats in basketball, LeBron James, Ronaldo, they all started from nothing. Most of them didn't have all the work without to actually get to where they are today. So they kept showing up, and somehow, some way, favor actually shone on them. And so I believe that consistency is what gets you going, because if you quit at the end of the day, you still end up a loser. And so you just have to keep doing what you're doing, regardless of whether you get picked, regardless of whether your destiny turns or whether you get seen at the end of the day. Just do it for the love, and everything is going to fall into place. And that's just the advice for everyone who's actually dealing with something like this at this point in time. Just like Victor Osimhen, eventually your time will come, and if you get the opportunity, you need to take it.
Can we just attribute, you just mentioned the likes of LeBron, you talk about Cristiano Ronaldo. These are, athletes that actually came from poor background, to say. And Osimhen is one of them. Can we say that luck was on their side, or maybe it was as a result of hard work that they are where they are today?
It's a combination of both factors. Like it's a popular saying, fortune favors the brave. So you need to actually be doing something before luck shines on you. Opportunities doesn't just come to anybody. It jumps on those who are prepared. And they kept going at it. They kept showing up. Like I said, you would actually have an opportunity, whether you like it or not, the moment you keep showing up. There's nobody who would actually, keep showing up 365 days a year, every single week, and will not get noticed. I mean, that is what life is all about. Life will definitely give you an opportunity to express yourself, and it's only the prepared and the consistent that it will actually favor in the end of the day. So luck also played a part, but let's not write off the hard work that they put in before they actually got to where they are today.
Impressive. It was really an inspirational one, of course, when you take a look at the life of Victor James Osimhen. Despite the struggles, despite the hardship, the man was still able, of course, to get to where he wanted to get to, and today is now one of the best strikers, of course, in the world. So impressive. But well, let's take a look at his football career, the journey, to where he is today. First of all, Victor's raw talent on the field caught the attention of scouts, and he joined the Ultimate Strikers Academy in Lagos. Now, this local youth academy nurtured his abilities as a striker, focusing on his speed, strength, positioning, and finishing skills. At the academy, Osimhen's performances improved rapidly, putting him on the radar of national youth team coaches. Kelechi, will you say the Ultimate Academy actually were the one who, first of all, molded Osimhen, gave him all the necessary skills for him to be who he is today?
Yeah, surely someone has to believe in you, and that's what life is all about. As much as we say you have to keep showing up, doing what you're doing, you need to give yourself a chance. You need to apply for whatever it is. If it's a sports academy, if you're a tennis player, you need to look for a tennis academy to join. If it's basketball, you need to look for a basketball academy to join. And so the Ultimate Academy actually scouted him because he was consistent and he was good at what he was doing. And so they gave him a chance. So that was actually the starting point of Victor Osimhen's career, if you ask me. Somebody has to look at you and see that you have that talent, you have that potential, and they can invest in you as well. So they invested in Osimhen, and that was actually the starting point before he actually started playing in the under-17s and the other clubs that he actually played in. So yes, I would say that when you give yourself a chance, you need to find a way to not just sit where you are. You need to register for something. You need to join an academy, or whenever there's an opportunity, scouts are going to be present. You need to ensure you show up, and that was like the starting point for Victor Osimhen's career.
Impressive one, of course, to say at this point in time. But after then, was just at the age of 16 years old, Osimhen earned a call-up to the Nigerian under-17 national team, known as the Golden Eaglets, for the 2015 FIFA Under-17 World Cup in Chile. Now, this tournament was big. Was a big breakthrough for Osimhen. He scored 10 goals in several matches and becoming the tournament top scorer. He won the Golden Boot and the Silver Ball as well. And the second best player in the tournament, Nigeria won the Under-17 World Cup title, electrifying interest from clubs across Europe. His remarkable show power, pace, and his instinctive finishing made him one of the most sought-after young talents in the world of football. Was, of course, really an impressive one down there for Victor Osimhen. That was his first, outing with the national team. All right, Kelechi. What do you think was in his mind at that moment? Take a look at what he did. He scored 10 goals in several matches. They say when opportunity meets preparation, of course, you expect to get the best. Do you think that is the case, for Victor Osimhen at the Under-17 tournaments? Of course, he participated.
I mean, absolutely. That was like the world on his feet at that point in time. I believe most people who know Victor Osimhen actually started seeing him from the Under-17 World Cup, and that was where he was actually seen by the entire world, because it was actually a tournament that made people pay attention to. And luckily for him, he actually got an opportunity to actually play in a tournament at that very age. To be scouted is one thing, to be given an opportunity to represent your country is another thing. And he took it. You said 10 goals in 7 games, which is actually phenomenal for a striker. And that was like the beginning point, because I'm pretty sure that so many people pay attention to some of these on the 17s, on the 19s, and on the 21 tournaments that is being hosted for the youth. So Victor Osimhen actually took the opportunity, and at that point, what was going on in his mind was like, this is the start of something new. I've given myself an opportunity and I've taken it with both hands, and that was actually what got him to building a better career, because we know him to be a prolific striker, but that prolific nature didn't just start today. It started from a very young age, scoring as many goals as possible. And so that is what Victor Osimhen is all about. He took the opportunity in the Under-17 World Cup, and now he's actually consistent and he's actually continuing that fashion, and that was the start of something new for Victor Osimhen.
Impressive one, of course, down there. Now, following his Under-17 success, Osimhen signed a contract with Wolfsburg in the German Bundesliga, though he officially joined the club in January 2017 at the age of 18. The transition wasn't easy. He struggled for playing time and to adapt to the demands of senior European football, making only a handful of appearances down there. Still, his step marked his entry into professional football abroad, a key milestone down there. Struggle for him, after that success in the Under-17 tournament. He has to, of course, he went down to Wolfsburg, but couldn't adapt quickly to the football system down there in Germany.
I would say sometimes it can be pretty tough for you to go into a different level of competition and to continue with little or no experience. I would say that there was so much pressure on him. He was pretty young at that point in time, and going to a new club, Wolfsburg, was actually something that gave him so much pressure. And as a young lad, most coaches will not just trust you immediately. You're mostly going to come off the bench sometimes. or maybe you're playing in place of an injured striker. And I think that was also part of the problem that Victor Osimhen faced at Wolfsburg. And of course, he also had some injury bout as well, also having a surgery during that spell as a Wolfsburg player. So many factors actually played a part in making Victor Osimhen's Wolfsburg deal to be unsuccessful. But you take nothing away from him. He actually put in his best. Sometimes life happens to you, and you need to ensure you don't doubt yourself, because at that point in time, he could actually start doubting himself. But he actually did not doubt himself, because he went on somewhere else and he started shining. So the first opportunity outside Nigeria was a failed one, but nonetheless, Victor Osimhen kept his head up, and he continued to deliver in the next opportunity.
Will you also attribute it to a change of environment for one who hasn't experienced life outside Nigeria? The first time, of course, you're leaving the country and you see yourself in another place entirely. Somehow it's a bit difficult for you to adapt and try to communicate or maybe relate with people, and get things done properly. Will you also attribute it to change of environment as well?
Yeah, that also happens as well. Sometimes when you go to a different environment entirely, and you're also playing in a more experienced league. You didn't just play for Wolfsburg under 17. This is Wolfsburg, the senior men. You're playing against well-experienced players, and you're just a very young lad. So it's very, very intimidating, if you ask me, to go to a new environment and just hit the ground running. How many players these days hit the ground running from a young age? Sometimes the pressure is really there, and I don't really blame him that much, because it's a different environment, it's a different league. You have to show yourself. You might not get as many opportunities as possible, but I would say that things like that happen, but you shouldn't pay too much attention to it, because it can happen to even the best of footballers. I've seen that a lot of them. So nothing to worry about. Victor Osimhen definitely didn't really let that get to him, because he actually took the next opportunity that came his way.
Of course, things was not that easy for Osimhen down there at Wolfsburg. But to get more regular football, Osimhen went on loan to Belgian side, talking about Sporting Charleroi in 2018. And this move proved transformative. He discovered his scoring touch, hitting the net frequently. His impressive performances in Belgium reignited interest from bigger European clubs. Leeds, Max, and this period showed when given consistent minutes and confidence, Osimhen could deliver at a high level. So, Kelechi, you will say that loan move was very, very necessary, to his career.
Absolutely. Sometimes you need to go to where you're faced with lesser pressure. You need to go to a competition where there is little or no eyes on you. You're not just coming off the bench. You're given a free slate, and he actually took the opportunity. I looked at the number of goals he scored in that loan move. It was actually impressive compared to not even scoring a single goal for Wolfsburg, which is actually something that I was really impressed with. So Victor Osimhen definitely just needed someone to put in the confidence in him. He started more games than the Wolfsburg. He had lesser injuries, and so some of these factors actually contributed to him actually starting out in the next loan move in the Belgian league. So the Belgian league is nothing compared to the German Bundesliga, but nonetheless, Victor Osimhen had more playing time, had lesser injuries, had that belief that he can actually learn from mistakes that he made in Wolfsburg, and that was like the start of something new for Victor Osimhen.
You talk about him getting more playing time. Do you think the fact that he was getting more playing time actually helped him, of course, to really improve? Looking at the fact that at Wolfsburg, he had limited time, on the pitch for play.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you cannot show yourself when you're not given the opportunity. So, and sometimes, as I'm looking at the mind of a footballer coming off the bench, sometimes it doesn't really give you that opportunity to show yourself, because it's almost like your coach doesn't really trust you that much. And so when you're starting the game pretty much as a footballer, it means the coach trusts you to start, because the coach always picks the best 11. And so when you're not always selected to start a game, it just kind of puts a dent on your confidence. And so going to a league where there's less pressure and where a coach wants to give you an opportunity to show yourself, and you have to take it as a footballer. You have to take it. Victor Osimhen actually took it. So him actually playing more games, him giving enough opportunity and enough time actually contributed to him actually taking that opportunity and doing well for himself in the Belgian league. And so I believe that also played a huge factor. You need to start games with the striker, because the striker, the moment you stop playing games or the moment you start off the bench, it affects your belief, and it makes you to not even want to continue in that particular team, because you're always going to be looking for another opportunity to showcase yourself where you can be trusted to start the game and to have the confidence to score goals as well.
Impressive. And of course, talking about his impressive move down there, Osimhen joined Lille and announced himself on the big European stage. He scored 18 goals in all competitions. He was Lille's top scorer. He quickly became one of the biggest young strikers in the league. He also won the UNFP Ligue 1 Player of the Month several times during the season. His single season in France made him one of the hottest young forwards in Europe. Kelechi, of course, we saw him moving down to Lille and was able to prove himself, more than we saw in the previous teams, the likes of Charleroi, Wolfsburg, and the rest of them. What do you think ignited that spark in Victor Osimhen down there in the French Ligue 1?
Like I said before, he got his confidence, and going to a bigger league like the Ligue 1 was actually fundamental for Victor Osimhen, because Lille is actually a big club, if you ask me. And that season, I remember Lille finishing in 4th position during the COVID year. And so Victor Osimhen actually got some individual awards as well, and that just tells you that he actually grew from just playing football to actually showing what he's made of. And I believe that at that point in time, he's one of the best strikers in the league, the French league I'm talking about. So Victor Osimhen definitely took the opportunity. Lille saw the belief in him. They saw what he did in the Belgian league, and they actually spent money to get him. And from there on, I think that was when Victor Osimhen started getting opportunities to also go, to even bigger club. And so, as a person or as a footballer, as a sports person, you need to get better at this point in time. Every successful footballer or basketball or tennis player actually at some point in time had their struggles, but they built on the next opportunity that they took, and from then on they became better. So Victor Osimhen got better as he progressed from one club to another, and so the French league was actually a good move for him. It actually made him to showcase himself, and he actually took the opportunity, and that was why I was really pleased with him going to the Ligue 1, leaving the Belgian league where nobody really gets to watch him, and he actually showed himself in the Ligue 1, and I was really pleased when he actually took the opportunity.
Impressive one, and it was really an exciting stay down there in the French Ligue 1, and he was actually being spotted by Napoli. That was in 2020. Napoli signed Osimhen in 2020 for a club record fee. His early seasons were affected by injuries. You talk about the COVID-19, a serious facial fracture that forced him to wear a protective mask. But once settled, he exploded. Of course, we saw that breakthrough season. That was in 2022 and 2023 in the Serie A. He, of course, scored 26 league goals. He became Serie A top scorer. He led Napoli to their first league title in over 30 years. Napoli also reached the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League, and he became the first African player to finish as a Serie A top scorer down there. And talking about individual accolades, following that historic season, Osimhen won the CAF African Footballer of the Year. That was in 2023, and this officially crowned him as African Best Player down there. It was a very huge one for him down there at Napoli, helping them to win the league, after 30 years. The celebration was massive, and that was when I think everybody started talking about Victor Osimhen and what, of course, he has been able to do down there, especially Napoli. What do you make of that impressive feat for him down there at Napoli?
At Napoli, we saw Victor Osimhen at his very best. He was like the best striker in Europe, because at that point in time, his goal tally was actually incredible for not just a player from an African perspective, because as an African it was a new feat that was actually broken. No African player actually scored more goals in the Serie A than Osimhen, and his goals didn't just help Napoli like for the sake of not just scoring goals for the sake of it. He actually won them the Scudetto, which they have not won in 30 years plus, and so that was actually an incredible feat for Victor Osimhen. He was actually instrumental for the team. The goals he scored, some of them coming from a header. I think at that point in time he was like the deadliest aerial striker. His prolificity was actually glaring for everyone to see, and he had that pace to go with it. He was actually, I thought at some point in time he was actually going to leave Napoli because of how hot he was in the marketing, but he actually stayed with them. But at Napoli, I feel like that was when we saw Victor Osimhen at his best. And you just talked about him winning the African Player of the Year as well, because winning the Scudetto actually got him to be voted to be the African Player of the Year. Because at that point in time, he was actually the best player in Africa, not just in winning the Serie A, because in Africa as well, he actually also did well for Nigeria as well. And then that was actually a turning point for Victor Osimhen. I was really impressed with the record I saw with Victor Osimhen achieve at Napoli.
Well, what do you make of it? After winning the title after 30 years, for Napoli, we thought, he was going to be given the respect and recognition he deserved. There was a whole lot, around between Osimhen and Napoli. I think there was probably, a penalty he missed at some points in the game, and the fans really came at him. There was an issue of him not being given the accolade or the respect, of course, he deserved. And the man was no longer happy with the side. And of course, that actually led him to look at to play for another team, as it stands. What do you make of, the relationship between Osimhen and Napoli, especially after that historic, victory in winning the Scudetto after 30 years?
I was really shocked with how the relationship strained between Napoli and Victor Osimhen. If you look at what Victor Osimhen did for them, I would call it ingratitude, because before Victor Osimhen came in, Napoli were actually just a mid team. Even though I know that they were somehow a top 7 team in the Serie A, but winning the Scudetto was actually something that nobody would expect Napoli to achieve, especially when you see how competitive that league is. If you have Juve, you have Inter Milan, you have AC Milan, and so Napoli didn't really stand a chance. But Victor Osimhen just came in there. His goals were important for them. He achieved a whole lot. And the least I expected from Napoli fans is to be grateful.
Yeah.
Strikers have their moments where they're not actually doing their best. Sometimes you could miss a penalty. Sometimes you could go without scoring. And regardless of the struggles I saw Victor Osimhen have at Napoli, the passion was always there.
Yeah.
The game I watched from Napoli when Victor Osimhen missed, actually did not score in that game. He left the bench really displeased with himself, because he's someone who loves to give it 100%. He's so passionate. Even with the Super Eagles, you can see him, the frustration sometimes. People misunderstand that. Maybe he has anger issues. But Victor Osimhen is so...
Kelechi, are you there? Kelechi, are you there? All right, we'll try Moses Ken, of course, to establish that connection once again from Kelechi to, hear from him on how, of course, things ended between Napoli and Victor Osimhen. We'll take a break now. When we return, of course, we'll try Moses Ken to get Kelechi back on the show. Stay with us, we'll be right back. You're welcome back. Steve Sports Personality Show on Atlantic Television Network, and of course, we've been talking about Victor Osimhen. The man has been fantastic, of course, for both his club side, Galatasaray, and the Super Eagles of Nigeria, and that's why we're talking about, his fantastic progress, so far. Kelechi, we were talking about, how things ended between Osimhen and Napoli. Taking a look at the way Napoli fans, treated him, and where the club also treated him. Some of the fans were of the fact that Osimhen is too stubborn, he always gets angry quickly, on things, and all of that. What do you make of how the relationship, ended between Osimhen and Napoli?
I was really disappointed, like I was saying. Victor Osimhen did not deserve to be treated that way. When you look at what he actually achieved with them and how he actually helped them to win the Scudetto. And I remember sometime on Twitter, now known as X app, where they posted something about Victor Osimhen. I think it's about calling him a coconut or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was actually really disrespectful. That was the height of it, if you ask me. And although they had to take it down, they had to. At some point, they were even reluctant to apologize, and that was actually something that actually also got some Victor Osimhen fans actually riled, because I mean, for someone who actually achieved that with your team, you actually treat him that way, disrespecting him. I mean, that was actually something that I couldn't really sit well with me, and so it was really disappointing the way things turned out at Napoli. But I'm really pleased that I actually moved on from it. He didn't really let it get to him, but trust me, it was really a disappointing way to end things with a club that you actually helped or gave in your all at some point in time.
All right, so the man has to leave. Looking at how things, of course, were down there in the team, talking about Victor Osimhen. But he, of course, moved down to Galatasaray, and Victor Osimhen officially signed for Galatasaray on the 31st of July 2025 when the club completed a record-breaking 75 million euros permanent transfer from Napoli, and announced Osimhen had signed a 4-year contract starting with the 2025 and 2026 season. He had earlier joined Galatasaray on loan in September 2024 for the 2024 and 2025 season before the permanent deal was finalized. Kelechi, going down to Galatasaray down there in Turkey, a lot of people are of the opinion that that is not the right team, that Osimhen is bigger than playing in Turkey. That's, he was supposed to maybe look for a team in the Premier League or probably the Spanish La Liga. But going down to, Turkey, a lot of people, say to be not a good move, for Osimhen. What do you make of that move, to Gala? You think it was actually the right step, for him?
I think at that point in time, he just needed to go somewhere where he can actually just be himself, where there is little or no fans getting on his nerve. I know that he attracted so many. He got some attraction from the Premier League, like you mentioned, the La Liga. I thought Chelsea were going to get his service at some point in time, or even Manchester United. At some point, also Barcelona as well, because these are clubs that really needed a striker at that point. But Victor Osimhen going to the Turkish league was not really something that I looked forward to. But so far so good. It's actually been extraordinary. The goals he scored actually won them, something. So it's actually not really bad per se. But for his level, I expected more. And at some point in time, I think he's going to want to challenge himself to go to somewhere bigger and somewhere where they can actually offer to pay even more. Because Victor Osimhen, regardless of how prolific he can be, I think the wage issue is the problem for Victor Osimhen. And so many clubs are not willing to pay that much money because he's actually someone who's not going to just come cheap. You're definitely going to pay a whole lot of money. And Chelsea, we're not willing to do that. Some clubs also in La Liga were not willing to do that as well. But Galatasaray were able to do that, and they paid a huge money for him. And Napoli actually made profit from Victor Osimhen's sale. But so far so good, yeah. But I believe at some point in time he's definitely going to look at himself and say, I think I'm bigger than the Turkish league. I need to go somewhere where I can actually even prove myself to be a better striker. But if you ask me, I think Galatasaray is not really a bad club because they've got history. But Victor Osimhen at some point in time should look at himself and say, I need to go somewhere else where I can be the hit man in a bigger club than Galatasaray.
All right. At that time, a lot of people were of the opinion that the reason some of the top side, maybe in the Premier League, didn't really come for him was as a result of his attitude. From what they saw down there at Napoli, that clubs like Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester United were shying away from Osimhen due to his attitude. Do you agree with that?
I think I'm not trying to be defensive, but no one's perfect. Yes, we know that Victor Osimhen can actually be animated sometimes. We've seen that with Super Eagles, even in the AFCON, where he was actually talking to Lookman. You think that they are not even the same teammates, but I think the attitude problem is something that everyone has actually gotten used to by Victor Osimhen. Everybody has issues, even the Ronaldo at some point. You can see his frustration on the pitch. And Victor Osimhen can actually get animated sometimes, and it can actually be a turn off if you're someone who focuses more on character over talent. And that was actually something that also discouraged some of the big names you just mentioned, like
Felicia, are you there? All right, we'll try once again to see how we can re-establish connection with Kelechi Clifford. But before we do that, let's talk about Victor Osimhen's achievements with Galatasaray so far. The Turkish Super League champion Osimhen played key role as Galatasaray clinched the Turkish League title, helping the club secure another championship and complete a domestic double in the same season. A Turkish Cup winner, he scored crucial goals to help Galatasaray lift the Turkish Cup, and goal scoring records and scoring feats, highest scoring foreign player in a single season. Osimhen scored 35 goals across all competitions in one campaign, surpassing Mario Jada's long-standing record, making him the top foreign goal scorer in a single season in the club 119-year history. Kelechi, are you there?
yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry about the breaking transmission here.
All right. What do you make of his goal scoring record? Down there at Galatasaray.
I would say he hit the ground running straight up. I think nobody doubts Osimhen at this point in time, whether he plays for Galatasaray or is playing for a team in La Liga or England. You would expect Victor Osimhen to be Victor Osimhen, not just also in this club, even for Nigeria. I think consistency is something that is part of the game now. He's actually found himself. He knows how to score goals. Just feed him and he will deliver. He's got the pace to go with it, and some defenders struggle to cope with the fast-playing player like Victor Osimhen. And so I think he's prolific, and that's why they love him. They will also have a song for him. And some of these musicians have also used the chant that Galatasaray actually used on Victor Osimhen to sing as well. And so he's actually loved and appreciated in Turkish league compared to Napoli. And I hope that the relationship continues. But he's actually been instrumental and phenomenal for Galatasaray so far.
Impressive one, of course, for Victor Osimhen, and the Super League also became the Super League top scorer. He finished the league season as the leading goal scorer with 36 league goals. Champions League breakthrough. Osimhen scored the hat-trick in the UEFA Champions League, becoming one of the club's standard performance on the European stage. And talking about milestone in career goals, why at Galatasaray, he scored his 200 professional career goal, highlighting his consistency and longevity as a striker. And in terms of individual award and recognition, he became the Super League Golden. He won the Super League Golden Boot. That's the top scorer for his 26 goals in the Turkish league, and Player of the Season at Galatasaray. He was widely recognized as the club's standard performer for this season. Turkish Sportsman of the Year as well. And Osimhen was honored with this award for his stellar performances. So impressive one, of course, you will see down there for Victor Osimhen. But talking about the goals, Kelechi, a lot of persons are saying Osimhen is scoring all of these goals due to the fact that he's playing in a league that is not that very competitive. That if he was playing he was playing a league like the Premier League, you talk about the likes of maybe the Spanish La Liga, that he won't be scoring this much. Do you agree?
No, I disagree. Victor Osimhen is a proven striker. He's not someone who is still trying to test himself. He's not those strikers that will do well in one league and then go to another league and start struggling. Victor Osimhen, he knows where the goals are. He knows how to make use of the aerial balls. He's actually the best, one of the best at it. So I think he's actually a proven striker. It's not about being a player at Galatasaray. Even if he comes to Chelsea, which is a club that once you pick the number 9 jersey, you start struggling. I think Victor Osimhen will still also deliver. Plays for Arsenal, plays for Barcelona. Victor Osimhen is a proven striker, just like Ronaldo or Messi now. You don't expect players like this to struggle, and it's actually wonderful that you can actually put Victor Osimhen, in the shoes of players who can actually deliver anywhere they go. It's like take an orange to another country, it's always an orange. So Victor Osimhen is one of those players who can actually deliver wherever he finds himself.
And talking about, of course, he stayed down there at Galatasaray. We hear that FC Barcelona currently monitoring his progress down there in Turkey, looking at the fact that Robert Lewandowski will be leaving the side at the end of the season. Osimhen to Barca, you think that would be a good move for him? Kelechi, are you there? All right, we'll tend to hear from Kelechi. We hear that Victor Osimhen, of course, might be moving to, Barcelona because Barca are currently looking towards his direction, looking at the fact that, Robert Lewandowski might be leaving the side, at the end of the season. But would that be a good move, for the number 1 striker of the Super Eagles of Nigeria? That's what, of course, we're currently looking at this point in time. But you take a look at his progress so far, it's been a fantastic one, for the man down there in Turkey, in terms of goals, and performance as well. Osimhen has been, up there. I don't know if we have Kelechi back to get his reaction on Osimhen's move to Barcelona. Kelechi, are you there? Hello, Kelechi, are you there? Okay, I'll be trying Moses can to see if we can get Kelechi on the show before we call it a wrap this morning. But talking about, of course, his national team performance, the man has been, of course, very fantastic. He is the current goal scoring comparison there's a current goal scoring comparison between Victor Osimhen and the legendary Rashidi Yakini for Nigerian national team, based on the latest, of course, available information in our system. You talk about the all-time top scorer for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Victor Osimhen is currently, of course, chasing that record with Rashidi Yakini as his stand. And if you take a look at it, when it has to do with the all-time top scorer for the Super Eagles of Nigeria, Rashidi Yakini stayed up with 37 goals. 37 goals, of course, to his name, at this point in time. And Victor Osimhen, of course, a second on the list when it has to do with the all-time top scorer for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Osimhen is second on the list with 34 goals. So you could say about 3 goals separating Victor Osimhen and Rashidi Yakini. A lot of persons are saying this is going to happen in the space of 1 game. This is going to happen in the space of 2 games. This is going to happen in the space of 3 games. In terms of Osimhen equaling or surpassing the record of Rashidi Yakini and becoming the all-time top scorer of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. A lot at stake at this point in time, and we'll see what comes up as a stand. And for Rashidi Yakini, he retired with 37 goals in 62 appearances, and his record has stood for decades, at the highest for Nigeria. And will it be the time Victor Osimhen, of course, break that record? Now, for Osimhen, he has been steadily closing in on that mark, and as of early 2026, has scored around 34 goals for the national team, making him the second highest scorer ever for Nigeria. Osimhen's tally continues to grow as he plays more matches, so he could surpass Yakini's 37 goals record if he maintained his scoring form. It's been a brilliant one for the man, and we just hope that, of course, he continues with this impressive fashion going forward. He's just won a bronze medal in the just concluded African Cup of Nations in Morocco, where he was also very prolific, scoring for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. And we hope that Victor Osimhen continues in this impressive fashion. For a man who came from nothing and became something today, we should, of course, acknowledge what he has done. We should be able to praise his brilliance, his fantastic performance, we've seen so far. And that's what we're doing today. He is our sports personality, for the week. And I tell you, it's been an impressive one this morning. And we can, of course, say special thanks, to Kelechi Clifford. We couldn't get him back, of course, on the show. But we really, really do, of course, appreciate his decisive analysis this morning. And for you watching, we really, of course, do appreciate your time with us this morning. And, of course, we know that you truly know more about the man, Victor James Osimhen. We'll call it a wrap at this point in time, but you can go down to different social media handle, Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube. The conversation, of course, continues right there. Sport personality, of course, will come your way next week, Saturday. My name is Kingsley Manuel. Thanks for watching.